Hi there, and welcome back to episode 5 of Keys to the Market, your favorite real estate podcast. And like always, we're your favorite real estate team. My name's Eric, and I'm joined by my mom, Kathy, and my brother, Ryan. Together, we make up the Lime Cooler Group, a real estate team specializing in the Orange County, California real estate market. Today, we're going to keep going on that process, that series that we were going on last time of what the sellers go through as they get ready for a listing, list their house, and eventually sell it. Last time we talked about preparation to go on the market, and now we're actually going to talk about what happens when you go on the market.
Oh, we made the step.
We're there. Your house is actually going to go on the market. But before that, let's start talking about just the current market itself, kind of what we're seeing, at least in Southern California and possibly the nation at large. So what have you guys been seeing out there?
I think what I've been seeing is that the buyers are actually coming back into the market. They've realized that the interest rates are going down. A lot of people want to be ahead of it. Like they saw what happened the last time. They watched the prices rise, and now they're thinking that if they can be ahead of it with the market a little bit slower, as you told everybody last week, and we're correct, it might give them a start into what's going to happen in the future. And I think it's going to be exciting. Next year is going to be the real push of it, but I think we're still going to have an uptick for the end of this year.
Yeah, that sounds pretty much right from what I've seen too. It seems like there was a lot of houses on the market that were kind of sitting, but now hopefully the buyers are there to get into those houses.
Yeah. And you were saying something about that the election really doesn't affect the housing market, but people, whether it affects it or not, people try to get their houses on before the election happens.
I mean, I even think that that's something that we normally would even advise. I mean, I don't think the election actually impacts the whether, what prices houses sell for and everything. But elections, kind of like you were saying with the summer, the elections distract people. There's other things going on in the world. People aren't as focused on selling or buying a house. So if we were to, I mean, it's not to say that you can't sell your house in November or December, but like in the perfect world, a lot of people probably are going to try to get their house on the market in at least the beginning of October.
Right. And I think right now and probably for the next month, you're not going to be even able to tell if there's an open house sign because there's so many signs in every corner.
Very true.
You notice the Lime Cooler Group sign as opposed to all the other signs.
Like I said, we're going to keep going into that process of what sellers go through. The last time we ended with your house essentially going on the market. We went through all that preparation, and now your house is going to go on the market. So Ryan's going to ask us some questions about kind of showings and all that type of stuff.
Yes. So before we even get to showings, we like to usually come in and start off with an open house for one of our listings. Right.
So how does that go? So we put the house on the market usually at the beginning of a week to try to let people see it so they can digest it with what else is on the market. And then that first weekend, how big is that first weekend?
I mean, we call it a grand open house.
For a reason?
And I mean, I'm actually going to take a step back there too, because we talked about this in a previous episode too, about with the new laws, what the difference between an open house and a showing is.
Right.
Because in an open house, the general public can come into a house. A showing, like we were saying before in that previous episode, if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch a different one. In that one, to have a private showing, we're going to talk more about what private showings are, but you have to have an agent. You have to have a form signed with that agent saying that they are your agent. In an open house, anyone in the public can come in. So like you're saying, that very first open house is the first time the entire public can come in and see the house. They don't have to have a buyer broker agreement with an agent. So you're going to get people from down the street. You're going to get your neighbors. You're going to get really interested buyers. We're hopefully going to draw in a big crowd from flyers we're sending out and email marketing and Facebook marketing and social media marketing and all of that big push online. I mean, also when you're looking at Zillow and Redfin, you're going to see a new house came on the market and everyone's going to see this new thing and all the eyes are going to be on the house that very first week.
You've talked about how you find the open houses so successful for the clients. Why would you say that the grand opening is so big?
I think it just is an exciting time for the seller because we put your house into its most beautiful form, I feel like, and it allows the public to come in. Neighbors get excited about, oh, wow, look at this house and what they've done with it. And then you kind of start to get a feel for who's really interested in the property. And it's just a fun time to be able to talk to buyers and kind of see where everybody's at. You kind of get an idea of where the market is from the open houses, because people are very open with you about, we're still waiting for interest rates to come down, or we were in on a house last weekend and it didn't work out. And so you kind of get an idea of where buyers are at, and it gives you a chance to get face to face with buyers, and just kind of maybe even help them out if they don't have an agent. I think that's always exciting when you meet somebody who you really connect with, and then you can help them get into that house, or you can help them find another house that they really would love. So
there's a myth that a lot of sellers have, and I'm going to try to burst it right now, but they do have an issue with neighbors coming in. They call their neighbors looky-loos, or people just coming in to see. But the truth is, we realize it, and we're trying to help you realize it, is your neighbors are your best asset. I can't tell you how much we love it when we have buyers building a house and neighbors are in there. Everyone in your neighborhood is proud of you. They're proud of their neighborhood. They love their neighborhood. They love where their school is, or where their park is, or just the feel of your neighborhood. And they're literally walking around the open house talking about your neighborhood. And it helps us to build excitement to the other buyers coming in. Like, oh, wow, this sounds like a great neighborhood to be in. And the whole reason that we do it both days, you'll hear us talking to you about it. I mean, we do adjust everything to what you want, but we do it both days is because it is like a grand opening of a restaurant, or a grand opening of a store, or we are excited about the house. We're excited about how it looks. We're excited for you to get the top dollar, and bringing all these people in really does shine a big spotlight on your home.
Another thing, like you were saying about the neighbors, that's an interesting point as well, is people don't actually realize that often neighbors can even lead to the sale of the house.
Yes.
I can think of 2 houses that we've recently sold. That one was someone moving across the street from their daughter, and another one was someone moving into the same neighborhood as their mother.
Right.
So, you would think that why would someone that lives 2 doors down want to come see the house, but they actually are possibly could be more of a sales, or they could lead to a sale as much as someone seeing the ad in LA or Arizona or China.
And the connection with that is, in both instances, the person who purchased the home was willing to pay above everyone else, because the reason for their coming into the neighborhood was higher than just getting a deal in the neighborhood. There were real emotional reasons attached to it. So don't say no to your neighbors, because they can bring the best.
Yeah, they want the best neighbor for their neighborhood. So that always helps out. Okay, so those are open houses. We usually do an open house on a Saturday and Sunday, sometimes a Berkeley preview on a Friday. But then once we go through all of those steps, what happens after that? There's showings, right? So how does that work? How does that different from an open house?
So honestly, I was actually going to say this too. Like, for the past couple years, open houses have almost led to the sale of the house, because houses have been selling so quickly. Like we were saying, in the current market, it's starting to slow down a little bit. People, rather than houses selling in a single weekend, now it's taking 2, 3, 4 weekends, possibly even slightly more sometimes. But what that means is, sometimes we'll do open houses in subsequent weekends. But what happens with a showing is, that's a private showing when a private agent will bring in their client to see the house with no one else around. A lot of the time, that could be someone that had come to the open house that wants to come back and see it.
That's the best. When we see somebody who was at our open house come back with their agent, we know that there's interest.
And that's a good thing, because that allows them, sometimes with an open house, there's a lot of people running around. It's hard to ask your questions of the listing agent. It's hard to truly, if you want to measure something or really think about it or get the feeling of the house, there's noise going around. Maybe you want to hear if you can hear road noise or whatever. It's easier to do that when you're in a private showing. It's just you, and most of the time, all of the time, it's you and your buyer's agent, the person that you come with. Some agents in the world will just let you and your buyer's agent go into the house. We, as listing agents, don't normally like to let that happen. We like to be in private showings because, like we're saying, you want them to know you want them to get the answers to their questions then and there. You want them to know all the beautiful things about the community. You want them to know all of this stuff. If I was just a buyer and walking through a house and I didn't know what type of flooring this was, or that this type of countertop was special and that it was heat resistant for some specific reason or whatever it may be, I'm going to just look at it and be like, oh, cool, gray countertop. Anyways. Yeah. But if the listing agent's there to say to you, hey, you don't realize it, but this countertop is actually this futuristic thing that somehow allows you to cook food off of it, and everything is amazing. He's a little overboard here, but it's this type of stuff that you can tell the buyers in a private showing.
Yes, and I think that it's you want to be there too, so that, like you said, you can answer questions immediately. What school district you're in, all of those things that are important. Most of the buyer's agents are going to know that, but you know it for sure because you're listing the home. The other thing is too that they get. It's weird to say, but people at an open house are very cautious not to open cabinets. And when it's a private showing, you get more of that. Like, it's nice, open up a cabinet and see that there are pull-out drawers just added money to the house, or just feeling comfortable in the house that everybody's not watching you, that you do have some freedom. And I think the other thing for you to know is, as the seller, I understand that it disrupts your day, but these are the best showings. These are people that have already been. Open house is the only thing that affects the wrong way on an open house is we can't financially check everyone that comes in. Every agent that calls us, we can financially check that the person that they're bringing in has the ability to purchase the home, either the ability to purchase the home or they have a loan in place to purchase the home, whatever it be, but we can check on that ahead of time, which makes them more strong. Yes. A qualified person instead of somebody that's not as qualified.
I mean, that's another difference between the two, like you're saying, is that in an open house, the idea is to draw the masses in. You want everyone to see the house. You want there to be a buzz about it in the neighborhood, in the area. You want a lot of people, and you want people to see a bunch of people in the house. Yeah. A private showing is not that. A private showing is a calmer environment, and we're actually trying to show that buyer the benefits of the house rather than trying to draw this mass crowd.
Right, I agree.
So as a seller, before the open house has even begun, what is a good way? I know we talked about staging and we talked about how to prepare your house. How do you prepare your house for an open house? Is it any different than just having the staging there and I just step out? Do I get to hang out at the open house?
You're not allowed to hang out. You can't even pretend you're hanging out as a buyer, because whether you know it or not, they know, or they can get a sense of a little bit too positive. Company's always coming to your house. That's the best way I could explain it, right? You always have to feel like your nosy aunt is going to open every closet or check to make sure that everything is good. And it's just, you have to be prepared that people are going to be looking through your house and looking. We're trying to show them the attributes, so help us do that and take anything that's a negative away. Anything that would distract.
We talked about that last time, that in the photos, like we said, the majority of a decision, or at least the decision to come and see the house, is made online. Nowadays, we're not in COVID, so you can actually come and see houses. The actual choice to write an offer is made when you're seeing the house. So yes, we want those photos to look as beautiful as they possibly can to show the house in the best possible light and for people to love them online. We don't want that to be a letdown when they actually walk in the house. We want the house that they see to look as good, if not even possibly better.
I love when they say, wow!
Because that's even true. I mean, we do the best we can to make the photos and all the media look as good as it can, but you can't entirely show size online. You can't entirely show what it looks like when the sun's in that direction and what the sunset looks like as
how bright the home is naturally.
All of that.
Just the feeling of being in a house, like or just being in a room, or just the feeling you get, I think is often the reason why you end up purchasing. I know, like when I purchased my house, driving down the street and just seeing the tree-lined streets was like a big, before I even walked in the door, was a big thing. I think going to the house is a lot different than just doing a virtual tour online.
True. And you can see different things. I'm going to talk about somebody who, like Eric's wife and Ryan's wife, not their mother, both have visionary minds. So like we walked into Ryan's house and there was a wall. I saw a wall and his wife saw an open room. And the same thing with Eric's wife. We walked into his house and I saw a step up, like, oh my gosh, she wants a step up living room. And she saw, oh my gosh, this is beautiful. It's wide and open and it distinguishes the house. So that really helps when you go into it, to a house. The clearer it can be and the less cluttered, again, everything. Like your furniture is not what they're buying. That's a hard thing for people to remember. Or how many pieces you can fit into a room. Yeah. It's the openness that people actually purchase because then they see their own things in it and themselves living.
So essentially to answer the question is you prepare for the open house by trying to get it to look as similar as it possibly can to that media we're putting online.
And you know how you'll realize once you work with us that we kind of say to you, we're going to be there 15 minutes or a half an hour before, in case you forgot. Yeah, if there's anything you forget, we will clean it up for you because we know what a buyer's looking at.
And we're going to ask that you, the seller, your children, your pets, your everything, leave the house during that time because we want it to be as clean of a slate as it possibly can for every buyer to walk in.
And
that's whether it's an open house or a private showing.
It's very hard for a buyer to feel like this can be their house when the person whose house it is in it. It's still your house. They're visiting your house when you're there, and when you leave, they can see it as their own home, it's a big thing. There's this one issue that's happened several times. Sellers love to show their own house for some reason. Like we always tell you beforehand, if anybody ever knocks on your door, don't you dare let them in. Just tell them to call us. And whenever a seller has done a showing for themselves, we leave and they say to us, oh my gosh, they're your buyer. I just sold the house. That's what they always say. I just sold the house. They're your buyer. They love everything. They realize that you're the seller. They're not going to tell you a bad thing about your house. And then we have to call them and they're like, it didn't have this, it didn't have this. And then it's a letdown. So please let us do our job.
So you're saying that we actually have a purpose?
We have a purpose more than we're okay if you don't realize it until the end, but we do have a purpose.
Okay, so moving on from open houses and showings, the good stuff is when those open houses and showings turn into offers.
Yay! You get to make money.
Yes. So, and that's what every seller is waiting for, that first moment, that first offer. And that's us. To be honest, that's us too. Yeah. We are waiting for that first.
We're testing what we've done, right? Every time it's a test.
Because when that first offer comes in, it gives us an idea of, okay, here we are. Is it at asking? Is it below asking? And then, then we can start to move from there. So what should sellers expect when they receive their first offer?
So an offer, with an offer is going to come a lot of things. We've mentioned that there's forms that come with offers. With an offer, we're also going to ask people that are getting you mentioned some of this, that are getting a finance. We're going to get a pre-approval. They need to show proof of funds that they actually can buy the house. And they're going to send it to us and we will look through it. We'll make sure everything looks good. We'll put together a summary of it and then we will present it to the seller. It depends on the market. It depends on the amount of buyers. It depends on all of that. Whether or not we tell people that there's going to be an offer deadline, meaning that all offers are due on, let's just say, the Tuesday after the open house at a certain time, and then we review them all. That's more in a market when there's a bunch of buyers out there and we're getting a lot of offers. That was happening, like I was saying, during COVID when all the houses were going through the roof in terms of pricing and there was a lot of buyers due to interest rates. Nowadays, we're still seeing that on certain houses, but in other markets or in different types of markets when it's a little bit slower, houses are taking longer to sell. We normally will present the offer right when we receive them, and that goes into negotiations of talking about that. I think we're going to go a little bit more into negotiations.
There's a few things to be wary of too, or places where we're going to tell you to stop as a seller with offers. One is any offers that we get that are verbal. You'll have a lot of agents playing the game of giving us a verbal offer. We do not give them to you. Verbal offers are not real offers. We need to have the offer in writing. We also don't take offers in writing that the person has not seen the house, because that usually is somebody who's just fishing, right, to see where you are. And then a lot of other things that can happen is the third thing that often you're going to hear us pause you on is an offer that comes in very low, below your asking price. I can't tell you how many sellers get insulted. And I understand the insult. I've been on the other side of it, so I understand that. But the truth is, sometimes those insulting people are the ones, and we've had experience, that come up above asking price to finally get the house because they're just trying to see where you are, how bad you want to move. So those are 3 really cautionary points in it that I would say. And us, like Eric said, us as agents know, we get a feel in the very beginning when that first offer comes in. If we feel like that first offer is going to be surrounded by other offers that people have told us, we might push a deadline out a week. We might say that the deadline for these offers is the following Wednesday or Thursday or whatever, because we have a sense that we can kind of try to cultivate more offers. And then if not, as the offers come in, and like you said, in the way markets have been, you will show them right away to the buyers, to the sellers, and then we'll discuss them individually.
Another thing with offers that I think is important is, this is also, we're going to talk about counter offers in a minute too, but like you're saying with verbal offers, a lot of the time when we sit down with sellers, people, I think it's somewhat of like a relic of the past, is that people want to say, like, can you just go back to the agent and say this or that, or we just want this. In the marketplace in real estate nowadays, things are only real when they're written down. If you get a verbal offer saying that it's a certain amount of money, that means nothing until it's written on paper. If we want to counter someone back in terms of prices or whatever, that means nothing unless we write it down on a counteroffer. Everything has to have a paper trail and be able to be held up in court in order for it to truly mean anything, and truly to keep us and the real estate industry like buttoned up and everything. It's in our best interest, and we will always push you to write it down on paper, because even if that means going back and forth and counter offers 5-10 times, it's better to do that than to try to have these negotiations in the
all the verbal stuff is just negotiation, really. Even if they're giving you a final number, it's kind of just to see how you'll react to it sometimes. So it's important just to think of things that way.
We made it easier. Like, I understand that we're giving you 30 pages with offer, but we have digital signatures.
Well, I was going to say that.
We, when we get multiple offers, we'll only make you sign 1 page until we get to the end of it all.
And another really cool thing that I think that we do really well is Eric puts together a spreadsheet for you that the offer itself can be a little intimidating to try to read and figure out where everything is, but Eric creates a spreadsheet where you can look at it, and it really maps out every term of the offer, because the offer is more than just price.
It's right. Often, well, I think we're going to talk about that. Go to the next question.
I do always think that, just to jump on that, and then we'll go to that next question. I do always think that when people are handing sellers offers, it always makes me laugh, because it's like, here you go, read the offer. But like, we as real estate agents had to spend years learning this and taking tests on it and learning about what all the things are. But like, here you go read it and figure out what this person's saying on your house, how much they're offering. Like, how on earth is that seller supposed to comprehend what is being written?
What is it? Is it 10, 12 things that you kind of break down that are the most important things, so that we're giving him all the credit because he's the one that's come up with it and does it all the time. He compares. So if you have 1 offer, there's 1 line. If you have 7 offers, there's 7 lines in it. And he goes from, it's an interesting thing, but he goes from the highest price to the lowest price. But now, with the negotiation of buyer's agent's commission, there's a bottom line. Now there's a net to every offer that kind of really shows you what you're going to walk away with.
And this is, I'm going to ask the next question for Ryan, but I'm just going to answer it. Is that the next thing we're going to talk about is, offers aren't just price. Their price is the highest line. Price is probably what most sellers want to see the most. Right. But there's a lot more to an offer than just price.
Yes.
The offers also will include how much is being put down on the house, thus meaning how much they're taking out in the loan, whether it's an all cash offer, how long the escrow is going to take. We're going to talk about escrows on our next podcast, but how long it's going to actually take until the house is sold, whether the person gets to stay in the house for a certain period of time after the house is sold, the seller gets to stay in the house. Contingencies are a thing. I don't know if one of you guys want to mention what contingencies is.
Yeah, well,
are.
I think especially
We
with
just went through this.
so if you have a contingent property, so if a buyer is coming into the house and the only way they can buy your house is to sell their house, it adds an extra layer of risk to you as the seller, because if their house doesn't sell, or even if it's in escrow, it's a domino effect that will make your deal fall through. So especially someone who's an all cash buyer, that risk just doesn't exist.
Right.
Whereas they're telling you the money's right here, it's all here.
Well, did you see it?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, and we'll ask for proof of that. You can't just say I'm all cash and just, hope that it stays.
Where's the bag? Where's the bag?
And then there's 3 other standard contingencies that mean a lot in the offer itself as well, being an inspection, appraisal, and a loan contingency. An inspection contingency means just that the person has the ability to inspect the house.
All assets of the house, all aspects of the house, not just the physical condition of the house, the HOA of the house, everything that goes together, the title of the house, everything that's important for somebody to move forward.
Yes. And the contract in California is written for these 3 contingencies I'm speaking about to be 17 days. So that means once you open escrow, they have 17 days to do that. They can be reduced in an offer. Again, like we're saying, some offers can be better than one another if they reduce their contingencies, thus meaning it's a solid deal before then. I guess actually I'll take a step back on what a contingency means, because I don't feel like we're actually there. Every house in California is sold like once you open escrow, the seller has very little ability to cancel on the buyer, because the buyer on the other side has these contingencies that allow them to walk away from the deal without losing any money or anything going wrong with them. So they have these certain amount of days to do these things, to inspect the house, to get an appraisal, to get a loan on the house. And if
now there's a new one, insurance now, because insurance, I don't know about across the country, but insurance in California has gotten a little bit trickier lately.
But if anything were to happen, if there was a big expense that came up in the inspection and the buyer doesn't want to pay for that, or if the appraisal doesn't come in at value, or if the person's loan can't come through, they all, within those certain days, have the ability to cancel on the deal, walk away from it, and there's no harm done. But the seller on the other side doesn't really have that ability. There is the ability to sell contingent. I think that's a bit more of a nuance that we don't really need to go into here. But like you're saying too, to go into appraisals, someone that comes in an all cash deal doesn't need an appraisal. What an appraisal is, it's the bank coming out and saying that they're valuing the house, saying that they're willing to loan out on the house because they believe that it has a certain amount of value, that if the person were to default on their mortgage, they could repossess the house and sell it and make back the amount of money. Obviously, if you are an all cash deal, you're putting the entire amount of money into the house. There's no bank, there's no issue on an appraisal. So that is a better and less risky deal.
The biggest thing I think in all of this, with even everything that we're saying that's like this, is we're trained and we've been through this a lot, and we can guide you through. Like, we just had a client whose trust level was incredible for us to work with, right? And her questions to us were, I don't see this every day. Can you break this down for me? And we were able to, like, just talking her through what this means, like where can you go with this, and in all aspects, we're there for you. We'll explain it to you. We make it, as you said, Ryan, we make it simple for you, and we'll help you through. We'll guide you through it.
When we move into the next step of counteroffers and negotiation, this is all applicable. So it's the price, it's the contingencies, it's all those things, because we want to give you the best situation as a seller. So what happens within that negotiation process when you're comparing all these offers that come in? What do you do to find the best?
This is very funny because we just had this conversation. Me, Ryan, and Eric had this conversation, because most of the negotiation part, I would say I lead it. Like most of no matter where my name is in a listing, whether I be top, bottom, or middle, they tend to call me. I think it's just because of my age, but they say it's because of my experience, but I think it's my age. But the negotiation, and that's what that's where the trust aspect comes in with the seller, because the negotiation with us starts the minute we get that first conversation from the agent. Like, we're negotiating on your behalf every step of the way. And it's hard to explain. There's nuances to it. Like, okay, how many agents are going to ask questions like, how many offers do you have?
What matters to the
What matters to the sellers? What's the most important thing to the sellers? Do you have offers over asking price? How far over asking price? What is your highest offer? Like, they're going to ask all of those questions. And honestly, we've learned over the time how we answer them, right?
To get leverage.
Yeah, we're always trying to get you leverage. And I'm not going to, just like my mom's favorite spare abreast of me, I'm not going to give you all the secrets, because we use these. All I'm going to say is we are negotiating for you from the first moment through the time we sit down with you, through counter offers, if we go into counter offers, till your final offer to get you that price that you want. All I can tell you is, if you've got a price in your mind that's up here and we only get you here, that's where your house was supposed to sell for. Because if we can get there,
we're gonna get higher.
We've got what it takes to get higher. So that's.
I'm gonna jump in on that. You're always the negotiation and the speaking. I'm more of the, like, what is actually the process of this and all of that. Like you're saying, I'm the one that's gonna make a spreadsheet.
Ryan's the one who makes friends with all of the buyers and the agents. We count on him to be friends with the agents.
So what that actually looks like? What are counter offers and all of that? When you get an offer from a buyer, you can sign that offer and go immediately into escrow and sell the house to that buyer based off that offer. You can say, yay, we're good. You can also counter the buyer. If there are multiple buyers, you get a multiple counter offer. If there's a single buyer, it's a single counter offer. Multiple counter offers go to multiple people, and they don't have to know how many people have offered on the house. You don't have to counter them with the same terms. You can, and when that happens, when you do a multiple counter offer, they have to send their counter offer back, and the seller has to accept it.
Right.
Thus meaning, even if they were to accept every single thing on a counter offer, the seller can still say no and go with a different offer.
It's another whole step where the seller's in control.
In a single counter offer, if there's only one buyer, if you write a counter offer and that buyer signs that counter offer, they have every right to buy that house. You as a seller don't have the ability to.
If you accept it.
No, as a single counter, counter offer, if the buyer accepts that single counter offer, the seller has no ability to cancel on that at that point. So it's different, and that's kind of like what you're saying with the negotiation. So a good amount of the time, we're hoping for multiple offers because it gives the seller more control. That doesn't mean that we can't get you a great offer with a single offer, but it does mean that that you have to kind of know the nuances of those different aspects to really make sure what you're signing makes sense and whether you truly want that to be where you go into escrow if the person.
Okay, so I'm a seller. And I'm freaking out because we're
talking a lot.
You guys are talking a lot. There's offers, but not really sure which one to pick. I'm not sure. You're telling me more offers might come in. How do I chill out? Because I'm freaking out. I just want this to be done.
I think the biggest thing is what you just said is, we're saying all of this because we're trying to make an educational podcast where people in the world can listen to us and understand real estate a little bit better. You honestly don't need to know pretty much anything we're saying right now, because if you hire us, which is, I guess, again, one of the points of this podcast, if you hire us, we know all of this. I mean, I can show you what we're looking at right here. It's just the questions that Ryan's asking us. It's not really any of the information. All of the information we're saying is coming out of the top of our head. If we don't know it, we're going to figure out the answer. We have the best people in the business to get all the answers to. We're going to come to you with a spreadsheet and say, these are the amount of money you're going to make. Are you sure you're okay with this, this, and this? And you're going to say, yeah. And we're going to say, hey, maybe you should actually counter this person because we can get you more money. And you're going to say, all right, that sounds good. I like more money.
We're asking you to trust us. But as a coach, we are such a believer in this as a team. team with you as the lead. You're a center guard here, or the point guard, or the center. I was in soccer. I was thinking soccer. The center midfielder.
It works in every sport.
But the truth is, what we're going to guide you to it. We're not going to tell you what to do. We're going to guide you on what to do and explain to you why we think that this is what's best for you. We're only your managers. We realize that you are the head of our corporation, and we will come to you with our thoughts, but you make the decision. And I think that's what you're trying to say. We give you as much information. We give you the spreadsheet. We're negotiating behind the scenes for you to get you the best possible information that we can on everything. And that's why, in the end, we hope our goal.
We're making it more simple. We're simplifying, making it easier, putting it all out in front of you so that you really have to make it's never a simple decision to sell or buy a house.
No.
But we're going to make it as simple as it possibly can be.
We're trying to be an iceberg. We want you to only see the fun, simple part at the top, while they say about like a duck, that it's like it looks calm on the surface, but it's flapping its legs wildly beneath the surface. We're the ones flapping our legs wildly beneath the surface. You get to be the calm one on the top that just gets to know how much money and how quickly you're going to sell your house.
And right now you can watch Ryan and Eric roll their eyes when I say this, because they've heard it.
She's going to talk about spelling again?
Because I say this
She's
so
going to
many
tell us that we're good spellers.
No. But the truth is, we realize that you're only doing this once or twice, but we do this every single day for a living. So just jump on our backs. We'll carry you over the finish line if we have to, because we know how to get there, and we're ready. We're there for you to get you there.
That wasn't as corny as you thought.
On that note, that wraps up this episode of Keys to the Market. In the next episode, like I kind of mentioned, we're going to talk about an escrow, what that actually means. Who is escrow? What is escrow? Is escrow a place? Is escrow a person? What is that word? If I were to Google it, does that mean something? What all that means, how you actually, like, now we've accepted an offer, what happens next, how you jump on our back further. So if you have any questions, like always, feel free to comment on any of our social media or send us an email at info@limecoolergroup.com. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.